Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's August 21st. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And quick look at the daily chart here. You can see we closed much lower. We didn't trade lower today as low today as we did yesterday, but we did trade lower. We did close lower, and I would call this kind of a mixed but downward day. Um, just looking at the way this looks now, I would say we may see some more downward action before this is over. We'll just have to wait and see. If you draw this, I never have drawn a trend channel up here, but if you draw this, you can see we're still trading within this downward trend channel. So I would say we've still got room to the downside. Doesn't mean we're going down by any means, so don't take that the wrong way. But just looking at the chart, that's what it looks like. It looks like there's some buying coming in at this level here, but it's not enough to reverse it, but it's enough to find a momentary bottom. But they may work through that buying in that price range and take this lower. We did close below the midline today, the 21 EMA there, basically, not the midline, but that's what the midline is on this envelope. It's a 21 EMA. Now, these others are based on some other numbers that are proprietary. I don't tell you how I do them, but this is a 21 EMA here, just like on any chart. So I think that's a very important price point. So that's usually I usually put a 21 EMA on everything, and that's generally the average price range. And it seems to work really well, so that's why we stick with 21. People ask me, how do you pick 21? Well, it's a 21 day average seems to be very good average to follow. So when prices come back to it, they generally reject from it, and when they pass through it from one side to the other, you're usually getting some kind of a reversal, even if it's only a momentary reversal. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. But this is Thursday, so this wraps up our week. No chart lessons on Fridays, so we won't be back till Monday. But I have been testing the. Let me switch over to the other chart, and we'll go over. I got something else I want to chat with you real briefly about. Then we'll get to the chart lesson. But you can see it's a somewhat of a range-looking day, but definitely down today. Okay, here's our 2000 tick chart. And what I want to tell you was I took a couple of trades today live with this finally. I've been testing it and I haven't been able to find any more errors, and I think we got most of the bugs worked out of it. I wanted to try it live, but rather than start out live in the ES, I just took a couple of MES trades. So I'll try to put those up tomorrow. I've got some other trades that other traders have sent me. If you sent me some trades and you haven't seen them yet in the video, doesn't mean I'm not going to share them. Just means I hadn't got to them yet because I had quite a few, and I've got a couple more today. But I'm just kind of going from the oldest to the newest. So I'll try to get those two trades of mine out and demonstrate them for you. Both of them I tried to get runners just so I could see how the runners played out as well, but I didn't get a runner on either one of them. It quickly, on both the winning trades today, it quickly took out my break-even +1 runners. So the way the one he has set up, it's both the trades I took, I think, were off of this one. I keep them on both on here because sometimes I like to wait until the bar closes and then enter. But sometimes when if the bar's setting up really nice, and you're better off to use this one because you can get in there a little quicker and you get in under that bar as soon as it closes. So let's just assume that I was trying to get in on this bar right here. And I think that is one of the trades. No, that's not going to be one of the trades. It was one similar to that somewhere. I believe I took one, or I was going to anyway. But while this bar is forming, you could go ahead and click Enable Long, and as soon as that bar closes, it puts a buy stop one tick above that bar for you automatically. So if you waited till this closed, you may not have time. But sometimes the bar is not setting up right, and it doesn't close right until the last second, and so you may not want to have this enabled yet, and you might want to wait till it closes to be sure, and then I like entering on this one. So there's several times I've liked entering off this one better, but then today I think both trades I entered off of this one because just the way it was setting up. So I like to have both options on the chart, and they do trade a little bit differently. We did add the ability to add runners on this one, but it doesn't automate it automates your original entry, and it automates the orders to exit, but then you have to move them around. You have to put them where you want them. In other words, you have to put them where you want them. So there's pluses and minuses to both of them. But really, the only difference that I see is the way it enters. And so, like I said, sometimes I like using this one to enter because and the reason I say that is because if you didn't get it in before this bar closed, and then this bar opens up a couple of ticks below, and it's looking like it's going to break above, you can't go back and enter with this one. Or no, you can't come back and enter with this one because it's going to put it above this bar when it closes, and that's way too late. But if it's working on this bar, I could hit a buy here, and it's going to put it one stop above this one. So hopefully that makes sense. This one always puts it one. If you're doing a buy, it's one tick above the completed bar to the left, and if it's a sell, it'll put it one tick below the last completed bar to the left. This one puts it one tick above or below, depending on whether you go long or short, the bar that's currently printing. In other words, while that bar is printing, you can click on one of these, and it won't place your order until as soon as that bar ends. It sets that order for you. So sometimes there's a call for entering either way, and so for that reason, I like having them both on my chart. And I found that there were times when I've used them both while I'm testing. So there it is. But I'll try to get that video up of those two trades. They were real fast and quick trades. And then I'll try to maybe show one or two of the other trades as well. But I'll eventually get to all those trades. So if you sent me one and you haven't seen it yet in the video, doesn't mean I'm not going to share it. It just means I hadn't got to it yet. So, but here's today's chart. Let me zoom in here a little more. So there's a lot of price action today. And although most of it was in the range, you can see we did break lower a few times. So this thing had a downward bias. There were actually two legs down. We had this first move. We got a break and moved to a new low, and then we corrected, and then we moved all the way down to another measured move, and then we corrected from there a little bit. So to me, it looks like two legs down today, and really a range day that traded lower but closed back within the range and definitely closed down from yesterday. So, but let's zoom in and we'll work through these trades, and we'll wrap this day up. There was a couple of news items today early on, so you had to wait those out. There was a 7:30 unemployment claims, and that's right in here. And then 8:45 there was PMI. So I marked that area out as well. And so anyway, you had to be pretty much flat during those. They're both high volatility type things, or can be high volatility. They didn't really do a whole lot today, but you know, you never know. Some days they do and some days they don't. So, but anyway, 7 o'clock came just as we're kind of bottoming out here. I think it's one of these bars. Anyway, as we're coming down here, it looked like it probably set up on this bar right here. So we were kind of coming down, and it says we're making this new low here, and then you just had to sit tight for a little bit. That one was tempting, but I would wait. I mean, you could argue for that to be green. You could always argue for those to be green because you had your break and at least two legs to a new low. So maybe you trade that trade. You got to wait for this. Don't enter on the engulfing bar. You got to wait for that to close. But there's still plenty of room back to the EMA. I think you're better off to wait on the higher low, which comes here, and that signal bar doesn't qualify. So you're probably better off doing nothing there. But you quickly get a second entry short up here to double top with a nice signal bar, and you do get a close outside and a new high. And so I like going short there. That was a quick, easy move. And then you get a triple test here, but it was during the news item, so you had to sit tight. That was during the PMI. And we come out of there. There's a trade down here in a move. It's just a first entry. I think it's in the middle of what looks like to be a tighter range, so I'd sit tight. Comes back up here, and you get at least a triple test there and a big bearish bar. I like going short. Then you get a lower high here. Now, there's not a whole lot of room to the lows here, but it's been consistently turning down here and turning up here. So I like that bar. It's very bearish, and it felt like if it broke below it, it's probably going to even go lower than the lows. But you got to make sure you got at least enough to scalp out there. And there is enough. There's like 7 or 8 ticks there, so there's enough room to get out. But make sure there is, or don't take that trade. And even then, that one's pushing it a little bit. It's real close to being able to say I have to call that green, but it's a lower high. It just happens to be a bigger bar. So the key is just making sure you got room to get out. You can see that bar's like 29 ticks, but it's such a bearish bar. There's a good chance you're going to go even lower there. And we do. This thing runs straight down, close outside, and it makes a high or low there. Um, it just looks a little sideways, but it is a high or low. So it's another one you could argue to maybe be green. Just you don't have a whole lot of room back to the support resistance or the EMA, and it could turn down, and you see it does find resistance even though it pushes on through, and that's your concern there. Do you have enough room to get out? And it's close. So I'll mark it green, but I'm not crazy about it. You do get a second entry here, but signal bar is no good, and then you don't want to enter way up here after you've had a break. I thought we were going to get a setup to go short here, but I think it leaves too much stem, but it does give you fairly quickly a lower high and a big bearish bar. I like that one. And even this one was tempting, but you're pressing it on your amount of room to scalp out there. I mean, there's still, it says there's 2 points there, but it sure didn't feel like it in real time. And you see it doesn't quite go. I didn't like it. Let's see how many ticks it actually goes. It actually goes 7 ticks, so you even got a tick to spare there. So anyway, and it does make what looks, you could argue, is a triple test. It's just so close to the lows. It's never safe to enter close to the lows like that. So I'll give it a green, but I'm not crazy about it. And then you get another lower high here. I don't think that closes in the lower 1/3. And it is your first break outside, and there is room down there. So, I mean, honestly, you could actually argue for that to be green too. I'm just not sure it closes in the lower 1/3. I didn't like it in real time. After the fact, it looks great, but in real time, it did not look so good. So I didn't mark it originally. But it does look like a triple test too. So maybe I should have paid more attention to it in real time, but I still just don't think I would have taken it because of that signal bar. But we do get the break there and 2 legs to a new low, and you get this 2-bar matching low, and that's a really bullish bar. Again, it's a big bar. It's like 28 ticks. So maybe you take that, but I think you'd be better off to see if you get a higher low, and you don't. This thing just takes off. So if you entered there, great. You probably got a runner, and you probably got a nice run out of it. But if you didn't, I don't blame you. I wasn't crazy about it either. So this turns out to be a spiking channel. And this just works higher until we get I mean, it looks like we maybe get a close outside there. It's real close. It's not real convincing. So I really thought we were still going to try to make a new high here, but prices never could do it. They never did make a new high there. And we turned back down, and we're all just kind of chopping around here, and I don't see any entries I really like until here. And really what this looks like is there's actually one trend up and a trend down, and this is a separate trend up in my opinion. And you get a close outside on it and a new high. There's a hidden second entry just on this leg alone, but this looks like a leg up and then a second leg up. So on a bigger picture, you might argue that's a second entry, and it actually breaks higher and fails and turns down. That's a classic trap that traps people to the long side probably. And so we're trying to ride that one. And that you don't know that it's going to take off like that, but you are hoping it's going to make another leg down like this one. Because what you have is you have a leg down, and then you have a 2-legged correction there, and then your second leg down. And it went a little further here before it bounced. but you clearly got two legs down there, and it bounces. You don't get a setup to go long here. You don't get a high or low. Runs up. There is a second entry short there, but not a good enough setup. Then you get your close outside, and you get a first entry, and then that's a second entry long, but it's not a very good setup. And it looks congested by the time that closes, so I don't think you can go long there. But I do believe you can count that as a second entry short with a very bearish bar. And while it doesn't take off, it still gives you an easy scalp. I mean, I like the setup, and I think that's one of the trades I demonstrated, maybe. I think that's one of them. I'm not going to swear to it, but I believe that's one of the ones I took. Because it ends up going up. I remember one of them did end up going another leg up. But it still got its scalp. But I didn't get a runner. But anyway, then it turns down. I don't see any setups coming down. Again, there's no break in new low yet, even though we do get a little failed break lower. I think you got to wait. That's just a first entry. That's just a first entry. This is really your signal bar, so no setup there. But notice you get your close outside, a couple legs down, it reverses. I don't really think you want to go long right there either. I think you need to wait on something better than that. But it quickly gets two legs up in the second entry short. And we had this resistance working across here. And so it's like a little failed break higher, but it closes back inside on being a second entry. I like going short there. You do get a lower high here, but this was an engulfing bar, and it broke higher and then turned down and then kind of came back. So it was a really weird bar, so I don't think you could enter there on that one. I'd just skip it. There is a double bottom here, but again, and it is a second entry, but you're not really looking for second entries in this tight stuff. Yeah, maybe you argue for that one to be green. But you get a triple test here, but it doesn't break above it till the next bar, and so I just, if it would have broke above that bar, I'd say go long there, but it doesn't. And it runs up and turns down right off the resistance again with a nice signal bar. Go short there. And then it turns up off the lows again with a nice signal bar. Go long there. Now you get a failed breakout here, and it doesn't close back inside, so I would call that one green, because you need to wait on a lower high, and you don't get a lower high. It just takes off. So, but you can always argue for these, but they're not as reliable, and you'll get burned sometimes. It's just part of it. So if you take one of those on a breakout that makes a new high like that, and you don't wait on the lower high, and you have a loser, then that's just the way it is. It'll happen sometimes. That's why I mark them green. But we run down, break out the other side, no setups, and then it turns down, and we're headed for another lower leg. We had a lot of these measured, two-leg moves today, and you can see and a lot of times the second leg went further, and there again it went a little further. But notice we're working down, close outside, and move to a new low, and you get a reversal bar there. I like going long there, but again, it's going to be green because you need to wait on a higher low to be sure that you're getting a reversal. But you can see how that played out. I mean, it's only one tick away from being a perfect measured move too, so that's another reason to like entering right there. And if you do, you catch that bottom it turns out to be the low of the day. And I'm always talking about that. If you catch these failed breakouts that reverse, sometimes they're important lows or highs of the day. And this was obviously an important low. And then it runs up, close outside, new high, and then it bounces first entry, and there's a second entry here, but I didn't like this one. It just looks, this is an inside bar, so you really can't enter on it. Doesn't go anywhere either, and it comes back. And then you get a triple test here and a decent signal bar. I like going long on that. It's a quick, easy move back up. Turns down, no setup there. Comes down, you get this failed breakout again, but no signal bar. And it can't make the highs again, and it's turning back down. And then it does end up making a higher low right there. So I like going long on that one. Just as another failed break lower, but a higher low on a failure. And you expect prices to at least come back up here. and they do, and they break out and fail up here and then turn down. I don't see any setups there, and that takes us into 230. So there it is. Again, it's just kind of a mixed trading day. We had some movement up and some movement down. We had a bunch of measured legs there. You can see them over and over today. So overall, mostly it was trading range rules today. And if you're good, if you understand that and you can find that support and resistance, they can be some nice, easy trades. Until you get really experienced with them, though, a lot of people struggle with range days. But once you understand them and you learn to trust it, and you can find the support and resistance lines, and they're proven consistently, it's easy trading. But sometimes they're not consistent either, and then it gets tough. So, but anyway, there it is, and that's going to wrap our week up. Again, I'll try to get up those sample trades for tomorrow, and maybe add another one or two from some of the other traders in there, and we'll try to get those out tomorrow for you. Otherwise, I hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.